Everybody, happy Wednesday, and thank you all so much for tuning in to the PHNX Hockey Podcast. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe wherever you get your podcast, leave us a 5-star review. We're coming to you live from Studio K, presented by Circle K. Petey, how are you doing?
I'm good. No, I'm not. I'm rarely good, as we know. I know you were I don't think you were really asking. But I think it's important when you ask somebody how they're doing that they respond.
Yeah, that they respond honestly and not just say,
okay.
Fine.
Just okay.
Yeah.
I went to the dermatologist today.
Yeah.
By the way, everyone go do that. Go to the dermatologist, especially for those of you here in Arizona, go to the dermatologist. But they do stuff to you. Like they freeze stuff, burn stuff, cut stuff. And that's where I'm at today. So anyway, I appreciate you asking. Leah, how are you?
I'm okay. It's been a tough week in the hockey world.
It has.
It's been a very emotional one. Of course, we're going to spend a bit of time talking about that today. We'll also talk about all the big signings this week, and then we'll wrap up the show with some Arizona hockey news and nuggets because we have quite a list of nuggets, a bunch of smaller
little
things.
Nuggets.
Yeah. But everybody, thanks so much for being here. Roaring Fork, the Watts in the chat. If you're here on YouTube, be sure to give us the thumbs up button, hit the like button while we're here. And of course, don't forget to join the Inner Circle and download the Circle K app today. Here we are in Studio K, PD. But I mean, it's a tough way to start a show, but we'd be remiss if we didn't talk about it. We opted not to do an audio show last Friday in the wake of the extremely, extremely tragic news of the passing of Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, the tragic accident that killed them. It's horrific. Petey and Craig, recorded something for our diehards on Friday that they, got to see in the Discord. Our Discord, really came together. We were all kind of talking, and we don't want to dwell on necessarily the situation that happened. There's been a lot of conversation about that. But instead, we want to take some time today just to talk about Johnny and Matthew Gaudreau, what they meant to both the hockey community on and off the ice. And you actually had the opportunity to meet and be around Johnny Gaudreau.
One of the things, and I think what we've seen again over the last few days is how tight this hockey community is and how this hockey community comes together. And I think that, we've seen it here just locally in Arizona, how tight this Arizona hockey community is. But I think when something tragic like this happens, I think you really see the importance and the close-knit family that is hockey. And I think you see it come from all directions in all parts of the world, really. And with Johnny Hockey, his hockey ability stands out. The kid was unbelievably talented. And we talk about his stature, and you go back, he's 5'9". And when you talk about players, even 10 years ago, that size player couldn't play in this league. And now Johnny Hockey has been able to burst through those barriers and be an inspiration for players of that size and stature. Amazingly skilled and talented. You see the goal he scored in the NCAA off the backhand. It's been all over Twitter the last few days. That's the kind of player he was. And I just want to tell a little story. And I know the diehards heard this when I talked in the Discord the other day. I was lucky to be a part of the coaching staff of the 2016 Team North America World Cup team. And, McDavid, Matthews, McKinnon, Eichel, you name it, they were on that team. I still say it's the best team ever assembled, even though they didn't win. I know. But an unbelievable hockey team. And Johnny Hockey was part of that team. And you look at Johnny Hockey, and at the time, Johnny Gaudreau was one of the premier young players in the game. But on that team, he was just a player. And Dave Tippett was running the penalty kill. And you looked at our first team meeting, you looked out into this vast pool of talent where every player in that room was on their power play. Everyone was on their power play. And he said, Dave Tippett said, well, you guys can't all be on the power play. We need some people to kill penalties. And Johnny was one of the first guys to put up his hand and goes, I'll learn. I'll be on the penalty kill. And he took such pride. One, his size is something that you don't, a smaller player on the penalty kill, you want to be a big body and blocking shots. But he dug into it. And you could see his love for the game, the way he learned over that 3-week period how to learn something that he hadn't done for a very long time. He did some in college, but he wasn't a penalty killer. He was outstanding. And when he hit the ice, he had a smile on his face. He worked incredibly hard. The game was so important to him, and he loved the game. And I remember him just going, yeah, I'll do that. There's no ego. There's no, I'm better than that. I'm going to do this because it's better for my team. And I'm just impressed, thoroughly impressed. And I know he did that side of the game, but even in that tournament came up with some of the highlight reel assists because it was his playmaking that he was able to get to the puck to make David, and he was able to get the puck to Matthews. But his playmaking during that tournament was absolutely elite. But what you'll remember most about the Johnny Gaudreau and being around him is that he just smiled. And that was his everyday persona. He was that way away from the rink. He was that way at the rink. He was a happy, happy hockey player. And this is just tragic that the hockey world and hockey community has to lose someone like Johnny Hockey.
It really is. It's so heartbreaking. Both Johnny and Matthew married with young kids or kids on the way, their whole lives ahead of them. And that's, one of the most heartbreaking things besides, the hockey side aside, just, their young families that they leave behind. You talk about Johnny Gaudreau's influence for young players for smaller players in the league. And he really defied all the odds. And, there's been a few guys, Marty St. Louis, these smaller guys. But one of those newer guys is Cole Caulfield, who's, one of the stars on the Montreal Canadiens. And just yesterday on his Instagram, he posted that he's actually going to change his number and wear number 13 going forward. He said in his post, which is a much longer post, I highly recommend reading it. It's beautifully written. But he said, I wore 13 at a point in my career because of Johnny, and now I will be wearing it again to honor him. He paved the way for smaller players and proved we had a future in the game at the highest level. I will forever be grateful to him for inspiring me and others. Rest in peace, Johnny Hockey. So a beautiful tribute from Cole Caulfield.
And I think that's, you aspire to be that, I think, in life, and not just in sports. You want people to look at you, and you want to be an inspiration in the way you approach your daily life, in the way you approach your work, the way you approach your family, your sports, your relationships. And to see someone say that about someone else, I think is the highest form of flattery, and it's really, really touching. I think you're going to see tributes. We've seen tributes across all sports already.
Yeah.
We've seen it in baseball. I'm certain we're going to see the football, and we're certainly going to see these type of tributes as the hockey season gets going across the league. There are no words, and it's not our story to tell. Mm-mm. But I do think the hockey community needs to continue to be what we are and be there for each other and be part of that tight knit group that can lift somebody else up, whether it's a kind word or a nice gesture or something. Is make sure we all stick together, this hockey community. And I know Arizona's hockey community is going through a really hard time right now, losing their team. But sometimes there's things bigger than that. And I think that this is one of those things across the sport that just brings us all together. And I'm really sorry that this tragedy had to happen. And hopefully people can learn some lessons out of this, and hopefully we can all be better and put the keys down and don't get behind the wheel and make better choices. And hopefully this can finally stop being a thing that we have to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. Just talking about the reaction by the hockey community, the community in Calgary specifically. Obviously, Johnny Gaudreau is a huge member of the Calgary hockey community, playing for the Flames for years. The Calgary Flames tweeted this amazing photo of all the tributes, the chalk, the flowers, the gifts, everything left on the steps of the Saddle Dome. I know there were similar things in Columbus as well, but I feel like this photo really encapsulates, what this community is. And it doesn't matter that Johnny Gaudreau decided not to re-sign with Calgary and instead go to Columbus. he was such a part of that community. I remember when he still played for the Flames during Stampede, and they always do the parade during Stampede, and he would come out wearing shorts and cowboy boots and a hat. And, just he really embraced the community there, despite being from the U.S. And then when he signed in Columbus, I remember, we were doing the show, and it was like, oh my God, shocking. And it was, this morning I was watching the Columbus Blue Jackets put out a live stream of some of their players and managers, speaking about Johnny and Matthew, and Zach Werenski came up and spoke, and he said, I've been with Columbus for 9 years, and the day that John signed here was like the happiest day I can remember being a Blue Jacket, so much so that my dad came over and we had a celebratory drink. And that's just like how much Johnny Gaudreau meant also to the Columbus Blue Jackets. Right. So to have an impact, not just on one, but two organizations. And I feel, extremely for everybody in both those organizations and across the league. I know he was so well loved, especially coming up through college as well in the USA hockey system. There's so many parts of hockey that he has touched, and his brother Matthew, a high school coach. It's just a tragic loss for so many different communities, and of course their family. And if you are in Columbus or in Calgary, there are candlelight vigils being held tonight, Wednesday. If you're listening on Wednesday, the Blue Jackets are holding one tonight at 7:30 p.m. On the Front Street Plaza outside of Nationwide Arena, and then the Flames have one tonight at 8 p.m. outside the Saddle Dome. So if you're in those areas, definitely go out and show your support for the Gaudreau family. But yeah, it's just an absolutely tragic
it struck
loss.
Those communities. It's interesting to see, like even in Calgary when he left, there was some bitter feelings, but to see that this again transcends the sport. It's about people.
And I just wanted to add something on top of all this. I mean, we were talking about the impact on not just hockey, but the family. I believe him and his brother were in town for their sister's wedding, which was the day after, I believe. And so it's just additionally tragic, and I feel for them. And I am 23. Johnny Hockey's been in my hockey life for pretty much as long as I've been watching the sport. So it's really sad and really tragic to see that kind of stumped out the way it was. So I'm a big college football fan as well. I know this is a hockey podcast, but a lot of things go on in that sport. And especially with Oklahoma State, people make light of the drinking and driving because it's the way it's presented in that sport. But this is definitely a very sobering reminder that this is not a joke. And, putting down the keys is really important.
Yeah, well said, Kevin.
Thanks, Kevin.
Yeah, so we'll continue to if we learn of new stories, if there's any Arizona hockey voices who have stories that they want to tell, we'll give them a platform. Yeah,
Craig commented on that. All the people that are associated with this team, like Brad Treliving, who was the assistant general manager here, was the general manager when at Calgary at the time that Johnny Hockey was there and signed with him, and Kachuk and the Kachuk family, and how close they were with Johnny. So there are a lot of connections here in Arizona, and just hug your kids a little closer today.
Yeah, absolutely. I know it's a really tough way to start off the show, but we wanted to make sure that we set aside some time to acknowledge the Gaudreaus, and we won't forget them, and we'll keep them in our hearts, and anything that we can do and that the hockey community does to support, we'll support in that as well. We have a lot more to talk about. I can't believe it's already September. Things are happening. Training camp is just a couple weeks away. We've had some huge signings this week come out. So we'll get to all of that after the break. But first things first, I want to talk about our friends over at Empire Today. And Petey, you know more than anybody how important it is when somebody is doing a big project in your home that they care. Mm-hmm. And they do it right.
Yeah. The one thing I want to say about Empire is a couple things. One, you can do it all from the comfort of your home. You don't have to go from big box store to big box store. You can sit at their home. They'll bring everything to you and get you exactly what you need for your house. But more importantly, and take it from someone who's in the middle of all of this stuff, you want to have someone that backs up their product. You want to have someone that services their product. You want to have someone that you can call and go, hey, this isn't quite right, or I'd like to see this. And Empire will be there to make sure you're completely happy. I know, because I worked with Empire before and they left me completely satisfied. Yep. And so make sure you just make the easy call and make sure you check out Empire today.
Absolutely. You can schedule a free in-home estimate today, and all listeners can receive a $350 off when they use promo code PHNX. Restrictions apply. See empiretoday.com/PHNX for details. Petey, What do we have coming up at Gila River?
Well, we know about Gila River Resorts and Casinos' largest gaming floor in Arizona. They also have the largest in-casino sports book in the state of Arizona. But what they really have is theater and entertainment. And I'm telling you what, there are two shows I'm really excited about coming. Morris Day and the Time. And I know, like, Leah doesn't know who Morris Day and the Time is, but go back and watch Purple Rain with the Purple Prince from Minnesota. Morris Day and the Time plays the bad guy in that show. Also a First Avenue act from Minnesota. Morris Day and the Time is coming September 7th. And then one of my favorite bands all time, number 3 song on my list of all time, I Want You to Want Me, Cheap Trick. Cheap Trick is coming to the Wild Horse Pass and Casino Theater on October 3rd live. No seat farther than 75 feet away from the stage. Cheap Trick from 75 feet.
Unreal.
Don't miss it.
Unreal.
Wild Horse Pass.
You do you at Gila River Resorts and Casinos. Visit playatgila.com for more details. And just a reminder, we will have a ton of events at Gila River Resorts and Casinos at Wild Horse Pass this upcoming year. All Cardinals away watch parties. So join us out there. It's a great, great place. And it has something for all of us.
Yes.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into some of these big signings, Petey, and the biggest one, the headline of the week, I would say, is Leon Draisaitl. The deal is finally done. This has kind of been one of the biggest storylines of the NHL offseason. Is he going to sign? What's he going to sign for? After the Oilers made it to the Stanley Cup final and lost, you thought, oh no, like, is Leon going to jump ship? He would have been a UFA after this upcoming season. But no, he signs a historic 8-year, $112 million contract with the Edmonton Oilers, which is a $14 million AAV, which is the highest in NHL history, passing Auston Matthews, who has a $13.25 million AAV. However, the deal itself, not the biggest money deal ever given out. That was given out to Alex Ovechkin in 2008 because it was a 13-year deal for $124 million with a $9.5 million cap hit. So obviously it's, for the length of time, it's the most because of the AAV. But as far as the contract, I can't believe they were giving out 13-year contracts back then.
I know. Thank God that's gone. GMs are happy that's gone.
Petey, what are your initial thoughts on this?
I don't know. Like, here's where they go to the Stanley Cup, and let's face it, Draisaitl, and you can go back and watch the broadcast. It was continually, Draisaitl needs to do more. Draisaitl needs to be better. Draisaitl needs to do something. He wasn't as great in the Stanley Cup finals as he needed to be. There were some injuries involved that people didn't know about, and we find out that's part of it. He is now the highest paid player in the league.
Yeah,
So do you think there's someone that's going to have something to say about that when their contract is up?
Oh, maybe his teammate, Connor McDavid?
Like maybe Connor McDavid, who's up the year after that? So when Connor McDavid's locked up at 12.5 AAV right now for this season and the 25-26 season, which is my math sucks. It's 1.5 million less than now his teammate, who is outstanding. We think he's a good player.
Yeah.
So what's Connor McDavid going to do? The salary cap provides you only so much room. You need to have 23 players playing. If you have 2 players tying up $29 million, you cannot be competitive unless your third and fourth liners are full of guys making $750 league minimum that happen to have career years. This puts
that was the Coyotes thing.
Bowman, Edmonton Oilers behind the 8 ball before they even get started. Stan Bowman.
It's the Stan Bowman way.
You got to sign him.
Mortgage the future.
Got to sign him. You got to sign him, but now what? So we'll see. They're going to have to pay Connor McDavid more. What's Auston Matthews going to ask for? Like the contracts, he set the bar. The bar just got raised right now in the National Hockey League for what it's worth. And now, having said that, Leon Draisaitl puts up numbers. He's a legit top goal scorer in the National Hockey League. Like he's the guy, and you can count on him to put up points. And he's a guy on the power play that's lethal from the right corner. I can't. He's worth it. They have to pay him to keep him.
No, he's totally worth it. I mean, you look at his stats. Since 2018-19, he ranked second in the NHL in points with 643, just behind his teammate Connor McDavid, who has 726. And then he's second in goals with 272, behind Auston Matthews, who has 294. Yeah. So we just mentioned...
He's right in that elite.
He's 100% top. You can even call him a top 3 player in the league.
Yeah, for sure.
The thing that concerns me is the McDavid thing, and the fact that, if you said, and I didn't know, and you said, who do you think the highest paid player in the league is? I would guess McDavid and Matthews before I guess Draisaitl.
Sure.
And that's no disrespect, because Draisaitl would be the best team the best player, excuse me, on any other of the NHL teams. It's almost like a Crosby Malkin situation, you know, to a degree. He's 28 years old. He has 850 points in his career. I mean, it's unbelievable. He's an unbelievable player. If the Oilers win a Stanley Cup in the next few years, worth it.
Yes.
If they don't, and now you're looking at 5-6 years from now, and it's like what happened to the Chicago Blackhawks. Maybe for the Blackhawks it was worth it because they went all in, won 3 Stanley Cups, and you know they've been in a rebuild ever since. Worked out for them. They got Connor Bedard in the end. But will the same thing happen, and will the city of Edmonton hate Stan Bowman like the city of Chicago does?
I don't know. The interesting thing to me when you talk about those numbers, he's over a point a game player, and there are very few people that have ever played. You know, we're talking Gretzky, Lemieux, McDavid, Bobby Orr. Like those are more than a point per player guys. And Leon Draisaitl has done that throughout his career. He absolutely deserves this. The problem is just what you said. The goal in this league is to win a Stanley Cup. That's the goal. It is. It's not to have the best 2 players in the league. It's not to have the best power play in the league, although those things are nice.
Yeah.
The goal is to win a Stanley Cup. To do that, you need to have the best team, not necessarily the best players.
This isn't the NBA.
Right. So I think what happened in last year's with Stanley Cup Final, we saw it in Florida. Edmonton still had the best 2 players. Florida just had the better team. Edmonton is still going to have the best 2 players. And I went on record, and I'm going to say it again so Kevin can clip the time. Edmonton is not only not going to win a Stanley Cup, they're not going to be in the Stanley Cup. Edmonton Oilers won't be in the Western Conference Finals this year. So you're going to spend $29 million on 2 players to not be in the Western Conference Finals.
Wow. You heard it here first.
The competition this year's too steep. There's too many teams that they have to get over that are teams building a different way than the Edmonton Oilers are. They lost the 2 players to the St. Louis Blues earlier with the signing sheets. They're not the same team. It's going to be interesting. And we'll see what Stan Bowman does. I think, though, he had to sign him. And I'm going to go back to an Arizona analogy. I was in the coach's room when Oliver Ekman-Larsson's contract was up. And he had to sign that 7-year deal that was over $10 million. We all remember the contract that handcuffed this franchise in Arizona. John Chayka had to sign him. He was captain of the team, his most popular player. He had all those points and setting all those records as defenseman in this franchise history. And you knew at the time that the contract sucked. You knew it in the coach's room. The managers knew it. Everybody knew it sucked. But you had to sign him because you couldn't let Oliver Ekman-Larsson walk away for free. You cannot. He's your captain. So in a franchise that really needs public perception to be on their side, they had to sign him. And you knew when they signed the contract, it sucked. And remember when he left, first of all, Dylan Guenther doesn't become an Arizona Coyote. It was a great deal for the Coyotes to get rid of the money and bring in a player like Dylan Guenther. And you burden someone else with that contract. Sorry, Vancouver. But at the time, you're forced to sign those contracts. And that's where Edmonton is at with Leon Draisaitl. You're forced to sign a contract, even though I think you're looking at it going, oh, we're going to be in trouble down the road.
And the price is not going to magically go down if you wait 2 months to do this. Like the market is set where it's at now. This is a market-setting contract, and I think it's kind of like a set it and forget it kind of situation. You're going to sign this contract. If it works, it works. If it doesn't, well, then we can get 6 players, or not actually 6 players, but we can get a bunch of assets coming in response for it. So
yeah. The one thing that could be worth a gamble is the salary cap is only going up. I don't think it's going up enough to accommodate a $112 million contract, but it is funny that we talk about salary because if you look across the 4 major sports at the disparity and where Draisaitl's contract ranks among the 4 major sports, we have this tweet from at CPOT tweet. This is how it ranks. So in the NHL, it's the highest contract. Obviously, it's now number 1. In the NFL, this contract would rank 92nd. In the MLB, it would rank 99th. And in the NBA, it would rank 117th.
Wow.
So, we're sitting here and saying, oh my God, look at this money. He's making the most in the NHL. Compared to the other leagues, it's crazy.
That's insane.
It's insane. And obviously, of course, I want the athletes to get paid.
Jeez.
I do love the NHL salary cap. I love the
Yeah.
fact that there's competitive. I hate the MLB, how they do salaries. The
that's
NBA
insane.
is so different because it's a much smaller team, and it really like superstars kind of reign
Yeah.
supreme. And the NFL, there's like so many players. It's a totally different situation. You almost can't compare them. But I always, every time this happens, and I remember similar tweets when the Matthews contract got signed, it's always a huge stark contrast to see. So
Yeah, but what it does, it shows Gary Bettman's the man. Like, no wonder owners love Gary Bettman. No, I'm being serious. Keith Tkachuk made this kind of money back in the 90s. And this is the money we're seeing now in 2024, 25, 26. We're talking 12, 13, 14 million that were happening back in the late 90s, early 2000s. And then guess what? Let's bring in a salary cap, and we don't do that anymore. My goodness, Gary Bettman deserves a round of applause from the ownership groups here in the National Hockey League. And I will say this, I wish that translated to cheap ticker prices and families being able to go to games, because it does not in any pro sport. And that's a show for another day. But I think that's a problem throughout pro sports, that the salaries have gotten so out of hand that people can't go to the games. But that
could be a whole other show.
Like Dan said, it's about what Craig makes.
Yeah, Dan said it's slightly
wrong.
larger than Craig's PHNX Cardinals.
Not wrong. He's not wrong.
Yeah.
Not wrong.
Oh my gosh.
Let another undersized player.
And Roaring Fork said all they have to do is get McDavid to agree to defer his salary through 2052, and Edmonton will be fine. Yeah, the Shohei Ohtani.
So what if they did that? What if they locked up Draisaitl and they lose McDavid? Whoopsie. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll have to track
Time
that
will
one.
tell, Leah. Time will tell.
Well, another big signing in the NHL that kind of got hidden just because of the Draisaitl one. Seth Jarvis, he just signed an 8-year, $63.2 million contract with the Carolina Hurricanes on Saturday, $29.24 million of which comes in signing bonuses. 22-year-old forward was the number 13 overall pick in the 2020 draft, and he would have been a restricted free agent. He had NHL career highs in goals, assists, and points in 81 games last season, and of course has had 11 Stanley Cup playoff games. Your thoughts on the Seth Jarvis?
This one's a little different. In the one thing, I don't like 8-year contracts. I don't.
Yeah.
I think that they're too long. I think everybody will end up hating that by the time the 8 years is up. However,
he's 22 though.
The difference in this is he's 22 years old. He's not 28, 29, 30. He's 22. He was second on the team in scoring last year. He's a key force in what Carolina is trying to do. He's a player that Brind'Amour likes extremely well. He's a guy that has 33 goals last season. He's an offensive driver on a team that really needs to provide offense. They defend incredibly well in Carolina. They need to have offense. Seth Jarvis provides that. He has a spark. He plays with a lot of energy. He plays on the edge. I think it's a good deal. I think it's important to lock up a player like this, and it shows your commitment to the player. It shows your commitment to the community, to the fan base. I think it's a good signing. I really like this. I don't know how Carolina gets any better. I liked the Carolina Hurricanes last season. I thought they were a team that could really challenge the Florida Panthers to win a cup. I think locking up Seth Jarvis puts them back into that tier of this is a team to watch in the Eastern Conference at the start of this season.
The one thing, especially with a 22-year-old that could play in the favor of the Hurricanes, is that we just mentioned the salary cap going up every year, and we're seeing what the market has been set. We could have a situation where 6 years from now, and who knows, Seth Jarvis, he's so early in his career. You know, usually NHL players peak around, 25, 26, 27. At that age, he's going to be making what, 8-ish million. I'm not sure the exact cap hit. That might be a bargain at that time. So it's actually, it's a risk, obviously, but it could pay off really well for the Carolina Hurricanes.
That's what happened here again. I'm going to try to compare it to something that happened in Arizona. That's what happened here in Arizona with Keith Yandel. I mean, Keith Yandel left to go to the New York Rangers to make more money.
Oh, I'm so sad about that. I had a Keith Yandel poster in my room, and I took it down when he left.
Favorite all time. He's one of my favorite all time. Yeah. Unbelievable player. And they needed him on the back end. But he went to New York Rangers for more money. But as to your point, if they could have signed him for the same contract they had in New York for a longer term, which he would have done, he would have stayed here. Maybe not. Maybe when I could get back to the East Coast. But the point is, you look at that contract they signed the Rangers and go, oh, we can't afford that. Well, 2 or 3 years later, your number 6 and 7D are making that same amount of money because these salaries go up so quickly. And that's what we talked about with, remember, with Chychrun. Chicken's contract, you go, oh my gosh, that's steal. You locked up a young player at a good amount. And so I think Jarvis, I think he's a good signing. I like it as a young kid. And to your point, there will be points in this that he's underpaid. There will be a point in this towards the end that they don't like it, though.
That's always how it is.
I'll be retired by the time that receipt needs to be pulled.
Hopefully the Coyotes will be back by then.
Yeah.
We'll see.
And then no one will care that I talk smack about a Carolina Hurricane.
Somehow people are going to find the receipts. It's actually unbelievable.
They will. CWP will.
Yeah, right?
He'll listen later.
Another NHL news nugget from the week, and this one's an injury, not a signing, and this affects Kevin's St. Louis Blues. Tory Krug is going to miss the entire regular season due to an ankle injury. He's 33 years old, had 39 points in 77 games for the Blues last season, his fourth with the team since signing a 7-year, $45.5 million contract back in 2020. Big loss for the Blues.
Yeah, this is a team that's struggling on that, trying to find their old rhythm and trying to find their way back into the playoffs. This doesn't help. He's a guy... I know he's an older player. He's in his early 30s now, and he's a guy that doesn't carry the load like he did when he was in Boston. But he's still a key veteran presence on that back end for the St. Louis Blues. He's another guy that helps distribute the puck extremely well. He gets a lot of power play time. He's still getting more than 30 assists in the last 3 seasons that he's been in St. Louis. It's a loss. And it's a loss on a team that really needs to get back to their identity that helped them win the Stanley Cup, and that's having a solid top 6. And losing a player of his stature for the entire season is a tough blow to a St. Louis Blues team that just isn't quite there yet. Kevin?
Man, this sucks. It sucks, honestly. But I think, honestly, it's one of those moments where we were just talking about Seth Jarvis's contract and how intelligent that was to lock him up for as long as they did. And, PD was very smartly talking about Keith Yandle, and the comparison was very good. But my mind went to Alex Pietrangelo because when we let Pietrangelo walked to Vegas, fly to Vegas, however he got there, right? We could have paid him that money. We chose not to, and we were like, oh, we thought we were smarter. Let's go get Tory Krug and Justin Falk. And how has that worked out? Truly, how has that worked out? And now Tory Krug can't skate this year. Very sad. He's a fun player to watch. I think we all remember that hit from the Stanley Cup Finals where he absolutely destroyed Robert Thomas. But it's terrible news. Terrible news.
Yeah. And the one of the things I look at it, and I look at St. Louis Blues top 6. And this is a player that I'm sure he's tuned in because he knows how much I dislike.
Oh, Ryan Suter?
Ryan Suter.
Oh, your favorite.
Ryan Suter's going to be an everyday defenseman in the NHL again. How? Sorry, Ryan Suter. It's over. Like, you've been bought out twice.
Ryan Suter has it down. He's making money.
He's getting paid. Like, he's been bought out twice.
Yeah,
Go back to Wisconsin. Go on the lake. Put the line in the water. I tell you what, if he's on my everyday defense in the NHL, I'm concerned he doesn't move well enough. He's not quick enough. He takes too many penalties. I think he was a liability in the playoffs over the last 2 seasons. Okay, there's my Ryan Suter vent, and I got it out.
There's a lot of good parks in St. Louis if he wants to just take a couple days off.
Yeah.
They just redid the
park
down by the Gateway Arch. You should
go
take a trip down there. It's right up the street, dude.
It's beautiful, actually. Go to the casino by the arch.
They don't have a Gila River like we do.
They do. They do have a casino though, because we stayed in it.
Unnamed casino.
Unnamed. No free ads.
Well, we'll be following along with all the NHL teams this upcoming season. We also are going to plan some watch parties. We're planning some takeovers for ASU hockey games. So stay in the loop. And of course, if you're a diehard, all events are 20% off. You get merch for 20% off, including Petey is wearing a brand new shirt today.
Yeah, love it. The college collection. And one thing it's got
the little flag
on the sleeve.
That's classy.
I love that.
Classy.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Classy shirt, Petey.
If you're not a diehard yet, you can get a free shirt or hat when you sign up today. You also get a free shirt or hat every single year when you renew. And of course, you get access to our diehard only Discord where we talk hockey all day long. I know that our Discord has been itching for some Alex Morello Jr. stories, so we might have to do a little fireside, a little happy hour Discord diehard only.
We haven't had a chance to talk about Tucson Roadrunners lately. I'm sure he'd love to visit and talk about the collaboration with the new streetwear down in Tucson. No, I don't know.
Oh my gosh.
That's made up.
Anyway, become a diehard today. So many perks. Plus, we have so many amazing events coming up this fall. We have the Cardinals trip to Miami, Cardinals away game watch parties at Wild Horse Pass. We also have Cardinals home game tailgates at Chicken and Pickle, which what a place to have a tailgate. Wow. You can find all this information on our website. Yeah. Like you go before,
Buddy.
have some food and
Right
drinks,
there.
walk to the stadium.
Oh.
Great. Go
Even if you don't have tickets, go.
PHNX.com/events. Check it out. Join us. It's going to be an absolute blast. And I heard a rumor that Craig will be stopping by Chicken and Pickle for the home game tailgates.
No.
And he will be going on the trip to Miami.
That is just, you just sold out those 2 events mentioning Craig Morgan. That's our best sales tool here at PHNX.
All right, well, let's wrap things up by talking about the latest in Arizona hockey. We have quite a few little nuggets of information, starting with ASU hockey is back on the ice.
They're back on the ice. Officially, yesterday, the NCAA has very strict rules on when you can participate in team events. Yesterday was that day.
Amazing.
Coach Greg Powers and the ASU Sun Devils hit the ice yesterday at Mullet Arena. High expectations on the season. We had Ty Murchison on the show and saying they want to be in the national championship. I mean, that's he set the bar, and so we're going to follow this club really closely. I'm hoping to get out to Mullet over the next few days, and hopefully have a little bit of update on how things are going on the ice over the first week of ASU practice. But it's exciting. I think for this local community that needs to see high-end hockey, I think the ASU Sun Devils this season are going to provide that little bit of spark. The live at Mullet is unbelievable. I think they're going to have a really good team, and they're bringing the best teams in the entire country are coming here to Arizona throughout the schedule from the NCHC. So I'm really excited to see how ASU to follow this team and these players and this coach and this program for this season. I'm getting really excited about it, and we will be following it closely.
Yep.
And we'll get the names of the people to watch, the teams that you need to know about, and get ready because that home weekend is coming up, the second weekend in October against the Michigan Wolverines. So you might want to stay tuned because I have a feeling that somebody might want to go to that game.
I would agree.
Just saying.
I would agree.
And it might be me.
What else you got?
You know, the Arizona High School Hockey Tournament had their seeding tournament over the last 2 weeks where they decide who's in what division. It runs a little bit different than some of the AIA sports in this state in that based on your school size is how you get classed. They actually want to have fair competition, so they actually have them play a seeding tournament, and they put you in the division where your team should qualify, with Division I being the top program. And I will say, my son's former alma mater, state champion 2017, Pinnacle Pioneers, a team I helped coach, and I have the ring to prove it. The Pinnacle Pioneers are looking pretty good, undefeated in the seeding tournament, and I like the way the Pioneers are coming in to the 24-25 season. Notre Dame right behind their heels. Keep an eye on Desert Mountain, Mountain Ridge. I don't know about the Horizon Huskies. That's your Horizon Husky?
Yep.
Yeah, we'll see. Brophy's got an interesting team. Centennial won last year, the state championship here in Arizona a year ago. We'll see if Centennial can repeat. But right now, I'm calling it. Again, more receipts. Look out for Pinnacle and Notre Dame. I'm telling you right now, those two teams could be near the top of the Arizona State high school hockey standings, and I'll be personally following that closely throughout this season.
Absolutely. We also saw the national TV broadcast schedule come out for the 32 NHL teams, and the Coyotes only have one fewer than last year.
There's only one fewer Arizona game on national TV.
I mean, the Coyotes only had one national game. It was
they
a
had two.
Tuesday night, 8:30 start against the San Jose Sharks.
Woo.
Wow. And shout out ESPN. They had a game against Columbus on a Tuesday in March. ESPN looked and said, no, screw that. That game's gonna suck.
But what happened?
Josh Doan made his NHL debut. So your loss, ESPN.
Way to go, ESPN schedule makers on
Utah
that
has 7 national games.
I know, huh?
They're shiny and new.
Same team.
They're shiny and new.
It's
but
the same
that's
team.
the thing that annoys me, because when it was the Coyotes, and everybody here who is a Coyotes fan knows that feeling of not getting the attention and the recognition, and you want that. You want to see national people time out the Coyotes in a positive light, besides just the relocation and drama. And now they're getting that attention because they're in a new market. It is so frustrating for that sector of Coyotes fans who won't be following the team in Utah.
Should have built a new building, and maybe they'd be the shiny new toy there. I know.
Too. But speaking of the relocation, we have
it's very sad.
Very sad nugget, Petey.
It's a very sad nugget. For those following closely, the moving trucks pulled away officially from the ice den in Scottsdale yesterday, and that is a true story. They moved the entire operation that was at the ice den Scottsdale for the last so many years, has been packed up and is headed north to Salt Lake City. They are no longer a tenant of the ice stand. It's a very sad day. It's a very sad day for Stan Wilson, the equipment manager, who's seen it since that building opened. I don't know what he's going to know what to do. He's going there and watch his grandkids play. Stan's grandkids all play. And now he has to go to the ice stand. He doesn't have a place to, like, you can go into your office, stay warm. He always had a place to go and hide out, as it were. No, not anymore. No more keys to the locker room. You're done. Beat it, pigeon. You're out. Stan's out of luck. So it's an interesting era that ends at the ice stand, and it's interesting because the ice stand had some really good space there that they leased. First of all, I want to clarify that for people that didn't know, Coyotes didn't own the ice stand. They did when they built it with Richard Burke Sr., who owned the team and the ice stand. When that partnership left with Steve Ellman, Richard Burke kept the ice stand. The Arizona Coyotes did not own that building ever since Steve Ellman took over, period. They leased space. And it's interesting. I had an opportunity to talk to people at the ice stand yesterday. And it's like, oh, what are they going to do? What is the ice stand going to do? They lost the Coyotes. Do you know what? The Coyotes, you know how much ice they had? 12 hours of ice a week over, you know how many hours they program a week? 700. So wow. they have to replace 12 hours, and most of those are Monday through Thursday at 10 in the morning. Ice stand's going to be fine. Yeah. We're not going to worry about the ice stand. The ice stand is not going under. The ice stand is not going to lose any business. Ice stand is fine. Matter of fact, the ice stand had to limit some of their programs because of ice that the Arizona Coyotes took. Youth hockey is alive and well in the desert. People do not think this is going to be a death knell for youth hockey, at least in the near future. The ice stand is excited about their future and the teams that they have. And I think things are going just fine at the ice stand, Scottsdale. As a matter of fact, I'm going to be following around the entire community of Arizona youth hockey and following up on stories of people that people need to know here in the Valley, and that youth hockey is alive and well. And wanted to pass that on.
But Petey, what about the Zamboni?
So the Zamboni, there's a Zamboni painted, and let's take a look at it. At the same time the team leaves, this goes up on Facebook and on Instagram. Zamboni for sale with the Coyote logo from the ice stand. People are like, oh no, Morello, you did it again. Nothing to do with the Arizona Coyotes moving. Matter of fact, there's good news for the ice stand. The ice stand got a new Zamboni, and this is an old Zamboni that they're just getting rid of. So everything is fine at the ice stand. Morello had nothing to do with the Zambonis. He doesn't own the Zambonis. The Zambonis Morello owned were at Gila River Arena, which is now Desert Diamond. They were sold a long time ago. Do not have Zambonis out there anymore. This Zamboni, everything's fine. New Zamboni at the ice stand. And by the way, that was a beautiful, if you looked at the paint scheme, this is another inside story, and I don't know if I'm supposed to tell this. But at the ice stand, the employees name the Zambonis. Okay. Because you have to differentiate which Zamboni you're taking. They have 3 sheets of ice. Yeah. That Zamboni that is for sale is the Deadpool Zamboni. If you look at the colors, very black. Reminiscent of what you would see from Deadpool's superheroes uniform. So that is the Deadpool Zamboni. Is now for sale.
I think we should buy it here at PHNX and wrap it in PHNX brand.
Fire.
I don't know what we would do with it.
Can you see, like, we officially take it to the I-10? Like, we have the Down the I-10.
Oh my God. Our Down the I-10 on the Zamboni.
Yes. Remember they did that in Edmonton? The people are driving the Zamboni. It's not street legal, but we're driving it around. A couple of beers and, well, no. Okay.
No.
We could put it out in there.
And have some beers next to it.
Yes.
It would be a great staple at, like, a tailgate.
A tailgate
but just
Zamboni.
Just to be there for the vibes. Just to be there.
Just the wait, we're not physically driving it, but at the tailgate. Yeah. I think we'll talk to our management about buying the Zamboni.
Have a little Zambonanza.
Ooh.
See, that's a marketing kid.
Yeah. This is why we need to bring in new people for new ideas.
Yep. Well, that's it. And you're right, the Watts, that's it. It is officially a wrap. That is a wrap on Coyotes 1.0. They are gone. There is nothing left in the ice stand. And I was there just a week ago, and I can tell you they still had a lot of stuff around, and they do not anymore. It's all gone. Everything is gone.
Oy. Well, before we wrap up, I want to extend a congratulations to former Coyotes play-by-play man Matt McConnell, who has just announced he will be doing play-by-play for the Utah Hockey Club. I know people are sensitive about Utah. However, I'm really happy for Matt McConnell. I know he was extremely well-liked here in Arizona by the fan base. So, congrats to Matty. It's a very, very well-deserved job for him, and he's gonna, he knows the team better than anyone.
Calls a great game.
Calls an amazing game, and
happy for him.
It's gonna be weird, I will say, to listen to his voice on the broadcast and just have it be different colors and all that. That'll feel weird in the start.
It's interesting. We've talked about this for months now of how many people's lives were affected in this team leaving the Valley. And a lot of people lost their jobs, a lot of them. We talked about a lot of the equipment and medical guys that are heading up to Utah and moving their families up there. Some are not. Some wives are staying here and their kids are staying here and they're going up there. It's tough. It's a really tough transition. But for Matty McConnell, super happy for him. Wonderful human being, calls a great game. I'm happy that he's been able to get the new opportunity to start with this Utah team and a bunch of players. So happy for Matt. And then it brings up the next thing. It's starting today. And I know this, we're going to walk a fine line here now, Leah. I'm going to try to do my best with this.
If you don't want to hear anything about Utah, you can turn it off the show right now.
Mute it right now. Because we're walking a fine line. We talk about Matt McConnell and his job opportunity to follow a new team. There was an opportunity for some of us here with the All City Networks to start and be a part of a new network here at the All City stable of shows. And one of those shows starts today. And it is the All Utah Hockey Podcast, starting today, talking about Utah hockey. And I am going to be the host, an analyst, and Craig Morgan is going to jump on and be whatever it is the hell Craig is. And Leah, you're going to join us from time to time.
Yes.
As necessary to fill in. But Craig and I have put a lot of time into this franchise over the last 25 years, and we thought it was a disservice not to use that knowledge, relationships of the players, people, staff, and be able to talk about that team. And I know there's some hard feelings from people here in Arizona, and I understand that. But I said on my Twitter, Arizona's first. Like, Arizona is where I live. This is the franchise I believed in. My kid went to high school here. I am Arizona hockey first, always. But this is an opportunity for not only myself and Craig, but for the All City Networks as a whole to give a new audience a chance to see what this network is all about how we build a community, about how we talk about a team from the stands and lead from the stands. And I think this is a great opportunity for the All City Networks. And here, if you don't want to hear about Utah hockey, don't watch the show.
It.
That's it. Because when I'm
We're
on
not
this show,
going to talk about Utah here.
I'm on this show. We will talk about Utah as it pertains to the Roadrunners.
As it pertains to the Roadrunners,
or
and
if Josh Doan from Arizona does something extremely well.
And also if we're covering the NHL, we just talked about the Draisaitl signing. If there's huge national news involving Utah, we're going to talk about it. But this is not this show is staying the PHNX hockey, and we're Arizona first on this show.
Yes.
So this is where you come for the Arizona hockey talk.
So if you don't, honestly, sincerely, and I mean this, I can't believe I'm telling people not to watch it. If you don't want to hear about the Utah hockey team and you don't want to follow it, and I understand that, I get it, then just don't turn on the show. Because that's what that show is going to be about. If you do want to hear about the players like Keller and Michelli and Krause and all the people we've talked about on this show for the last 3 seasons, come on over and check it out. We're going to start today. It's going to be at 4 o'clock Arizona time, 5 o'clock Utah time. Come check it out. Because it's like Steve Harvey. Steve Harvey has 5 shows, right? You don't have to watch the Steve Harvey show, but you can watch him on the Family Feud and still like what he's doing. So it doesn't mean he's a sellout. It just means dude's got a lot of jobs.
Yeah.
So don't hate the player, hate the game.
And hate Morello for getting us to this point. How about that?
Yeah, and ultimately that's his fault. You want to blame somebody, blame him. Because I like to blame Morello for something at least once per show, and that is something I got to blame him for. Blame Morello if you don't like it. Don't blame Petey and Craig.
Yeah.
Dude, I gotta,
hashtag blame Morello.
Still got to pay for my house improvement. By the way.
God.
So tune into the Utah show. It's going to be fun.
Bill Armstrong's on the show today.
Armstrong's on today. And we're going to have players. I got a couple interviews in the can for this week. And I'm hosting, which means that
I'm trying to help you guys, but I can't make any promises.
I don't know how to do it yet. It's going to be bad. But home improving. Here's my tip of the day.
Don't cut your own mirrors.
So when you go to YouTube and see someone doing a home task of improving a DIY thing, doesn't mean it's that easy. So I went to cut my full-length mirror in my bathroom because I saw a guy on YouTube do it in his bathrobe on his kitchen table with a thing that looked like a knife. Super easy. He did it. I'm not lying. 10 seconds. Zzz, popped it, broke in half. Perfect. He did it. I can do it. I can't do it. Shattered a mirror. I was bleeding in at least 3 spots. Do not mess with glass mirror or plumbing. Electrical, if you turn off the power box. Just be careful. Just because someone did it on YouTube does not mean you can do it in your home. That's the tip from Petey.
Wow. When will the saga come to an end? Tune in next week to find out.
Next week. I tell you, we are close, and
He's been saying that for months.
But we are close. This is it. I will say this. Whether you like it or not, PHNX hockey community, we are getting before and after reveals on this show. We are. Like it or not, they're coming. Because it's impressive.
I can't wait.
I'm watching Love Island now, so I don't care about anything
Petey texts me about Love Island.
It's true.
He'll be like, oh, this
that.
person just got dumped.
Couldn't believe it.
I did it.
Couldn't believe it.
It took 3 years, but I did it.
I couldn't believe the drama on the new Bombshell. Harrison, boy, is he handsome, though.
He looks like Thor.
He is one of those guys that guys hate. Like, he walked in the room and I just hate him. He is beautiful. And not only is he beautiful and those blue eyes, he's so handsome, but he's nice and respectful. And he was a good human being. At least he is now, so don't ruin it if he's not later. I wanted to hate him, but I had nothing to grab onto yet. But I will. I'll find it, Harrison. You wait.
Okay, well, that's it from us today here on the PHNX Hockey Show. Be sure to hit the thumbs up button on this video on YouTube. If you're listening on audio, be sure to subscribe. Leave us a 5-star review. We have weekly audio-only episodes dropping every single Friday. So make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss those. And check out our social channels today because if you've been following the PHNX mayoral race, you may or may not have seen that a third candidate has entered the chat.
Has emerged.
And we need the hockey community to get behind Petey for mayor.
There's a lot of hate out there,
Petey for the people.
A lot of hate.
We'll put out his campaign.
I'm bringing the positivity because that's what I'm known for.
Positive Petey.
Positive.
LFG. So vote Petey for mayor. Thank you all so much for being here. We appreciate you. Be sure to follow us on Twitter at @SPetersHockey, at Leah Merrill. Kevin, until I memorize it,
at Kev Tom Wrights.
There you go. And follow the show at PHNX_hockey. Enjoy the rest of your Wednesday, everybody, and we'll talk to you soon.
We all silly like the mayor.